Here we go again. Um, Welcome back to Twitch. I realised that the saying "welcome back" at the start doesn't mean anything live because there's no one here live. I just pressed live. How could you possibly be here live? So is it just for the people watching the VOD? But who's watching the VOD? Why would you watch the VOD? It's like 3.5 hours. Am I live? This thing's unsure about whether I'm live. Good times. If you've just joined us randomly because you searched for maths on Twitch or something like that, then hey, good to have you with us. This has been the quest for the Quintic. All through this week, I've been trying to learn ring theory and Galois theory so that I can understand the Quintic. The reason the Quintic has no roots, just but radicals. I've got some outstanding things that I'd like to understand, although I should admit I did some more off-camera understanding, which is like off-camera mining, but with understanding instead of digging, where I'm now more happy about the role of this discriminant in the cubic. I realised what it was there for. Let's go back in to the Galois theory notes. What are we looking at here? This is right down the end. So here's the cubic formula section of the notes. And yesterday I got very confused by the idea that we were going to put in delta, the discriminant for the polynomial, the square root of that. So I couldn't really see where it was in the working. It never turns up, right? This object, which we know a formula for this. It's something to do with the product. Here it is, the product of the squares of the differences of the roots. Now there's a theorem somewhere in the course that we're using. So this really confused me down here. You were using a lemma where we claimed that something had a square root, and I said I don't understand why it's got a square root, and now I've realised that what's actually going on down here is that we're not saying it had a square root in k. This is like, by the way, this is like b squared minus 4ac, where you might want to take the square root of it. The question is, does that square root, is that a rational number, irrational, complex? You know, sort of, does it have a square root in the rationals? Sort of question we might ask. It wasn't obvious to me why we could use, so down here, lemma 4.74 says if it's got a square root in your field, then you're good. And I don't understand why it's got a square root in the field. We haven't said what it is. We haven't calculated it. It felt like we were saying that b squared minus 4ac was always a rational square, which is just not true for quadratics. So thinking about the quadratic was how I got there, because I realised that we're not claiming it has a square root over k, the original field. We're claiming that it has a square root over this new field, where crucially we've chucked in a square root. So this is actually really cheeky, where we went up to this extension, throwing in the square root of b squared minus 4ac, or in general it's a more complicated expression for higher degree polynomials, but we threw in this square root of b squared minus 4ac, kind of saying maybe that was already in k, maybe that was not in k, in our field, but whatever, it is now. We've possibly extended our field to throw in the object square root of this discriminant, root b squared minus 4ac. You might need some of that around. And once you've put it in, now it's totally true that this thing has a square root in the field, because we just put in its square roots. We just added a square root in. So this is sort of really cheeky, and the point of doing that, to extend the field just a little bit to include the square root of the discriminant, the point of doing that is that it means that our Galois group is a subgroup of A3, which is smaller than S3. It's a way to start breaking it down. Okay, so we know, one way or the other, this has now got a square root, so this is now a subgroup of A3. Now there might be some, this bit here, there might be some degree 2 extension going on over here where we put that in. It might be the case. And these are kind of separate cases, right, where your quadratic might have rational roots, I guess in which case, yeah, in which case, well, irreducible, but that seems to be fine. Okay. We say P was a, yeah, we never said it. Okay. It might have rational roots, so we're worrying about that in general here. We don't know if P's reducible or not. Interesting. So we're covering lots of cases where maybe P was already reducible, have rational roots, but maybe not. If not, then you throw in this, and now it's got the permutation to even. Permutation of the roots are even because there's a small delta and a big delta, and that thing's fixed now. You know it's fixed because it's in the group. The Galois group has to. Galois group, you've thrown it in as another thing that the Galois group has to respect and keep exactly fixed. The Galois group over this has an extra restriction to not switch b squared minus root, to not switch around the two square roots of b squared minus 4ac. I'm matching everything, I think. Just really keen on this one. There's one work of art which actually lots of people are keen on. It's a great wave, right? I like it because, it's a bit hard to see on the mug, but I like the great wave because it's fluid dynamics and it's a great big overwhelming wave that comes in. Plus also it's a cool picture. And I've sort of stamped it everywhere. Yeah, at one point the majority of my, that's an exaggeration, but at one point the majority of my possessions had that one. Morning Herb, how are you doing? You alright? By the way, we're learning about the cubic formula. So I was trying to understand the quadratic formula, by the way, while I say hi to Herb. So quadratic formula says, throw in the square root of the discriminant. Throw in the square root of the discriminant. Now, if you consider the Galois group that fixes, though, that does not interchange the square roots, then for the quadratic, your remaining Galois group will be a subgroup of A2, which is the even permutations on two things. The even permutations are the ones where you do an even number of swaps. So if you've only got two things and you do an even number of switches, they're going to be back where they started. So this group is trivial. So this kind of says that for the quadratic, once you've had this idea of throwing in the square root of the discriminant, now we're done. There's no more group left. The Galois group, which started out for the roots of the quadratic, was maybe interchanging the roots of the quadratic. Not if they're rational. It's not allowed to move them if they're rational. But if they were irrational, it was maybe moving them around to take like a 1 plus root 2 and 1 minus root 2 on some sort of merry ride where it switched them around. And it kind of works, right? So if you have a field where, that's what I need to understand, I suppose. You had a field with 1 plus or minus root 2 in it, which kind of field augmented with root 2, let's say. So normal rationals, but also multiples of root 2. Then what you can do is kind of switch. You can take any expression with root 2 in it. Yeah, like conjugation, but not complex conjugation, just switching the root 2's and the minus root 2's. I think it's true. You can take any expression with root 2's in it and switch all the root 2's for minus root 2's, and you don't get the same thing, but you do get a consistent thing where the answer over there is going to switch as if I'd just switched the root 2 to a minus root 2 in the answer as well. It has technically here phi of x, phi of y equals phi of xy, where phi here is just root 2 goes to minus root 2 and consequences. So 1 goes to 1, root 2 goes to minus root 2. Yeah, is that called conjugation, where it switches the root 2's? It's not complex conjugation, but I mean it could be. The weird thing is, from the point of view of the rationals, it's just as weird and alien to put in root 2 as it is to put in root minus 1. These things just both don't exist in Q, and once you put it in, you put it in the field, right? Oh my goodness, we've got this extra field here. This object here, root minus root 2 is just as weird. I can't do any rational maths with it. Oh, that's a good phrase. Rational maths. Might use that a bit more. Okay, so this idea of throwing in the discriminant kind of locks down. There's always, is this the case then? There's always kind of a little bit of flip-flopping. Your Galois group can maybe, no, I don't want to say always, but can maybe do different permutations of your roots where it permutes them in such a way that the discriminant I don't think I can say there's always a factor of 2 because this might not be here. The Galois group might be trivial, so I can't say there's always a factor of 2. And really I should just look at lemma 4.7, which is there's sometimes a factor of 2. Here's this thing. I think this thing's a whole number, by the way, so there's either 1 or 2. Okay. So understanding the quadratic and the way that the roots flip around was actually helpful. There's sort of not enough to look at in a way over here, because once you've had that idea, you're sort of done. So that's a bit sad, but that's why I guess why we're looking at the cubic for the rest of this page. Okay. Right. What's going on? That's not the minimal polynomial. I messed up again. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. No, I did mess up. Yeah, here it is. X squared minus this. Anyway, so augmenting the field by putting in the square root of the discriminant. Okay, I'm going to delete that. No, it's in K. Omega root D star squared. Oh gosh. Star squared. Okay. I got it now, I think. It's a way to do some restriction. So maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe A3, maybe not. And A3 is tiny. A3 is the even permutations on 3 objects. An even permutation means you do an even number of swaps. If you're imagining your permutation to be built out of swaps. That light is very annoying. What's that coming from? Oh, there we go. Even number of swaps. So you might leave it alone, or do 2 swaps on the same pair, or you might do a swap here, 1, 2, and then a swap with the middle and the last one. Things. So like the shell game, you imagine there's always doing these swaps on the objects. And you've got to track where the numbers go. So if you do this swap first, and then this swap, then you get 2, 1, 3, and then 2, 3, 1, which is the same logically really as if they'd done a rotation. Rotated around to send the 1 to the end. But if you're building it out of swaps, there's a different thing you can do where you do this one first and then this one. So the swap is different from the swap swip. That will send 3 up here and then leave 2 at the end, move 3 to the front, so you'd end up with 3, 1, 2 instead of the other one we said would leave 2, 3, 1. It's a rotation in the opposite direction. So those are the 2 even. There are 3 things in here. There's leave it alone, or do this, or do that. There's not very many things. That's what this 3 here is recording. And it's cyclic because it's sort of just rotations. This one, 1, 2, 3 goes to 2, 3, 1, goes to 3, 1, 2. You keep going around. This cyclic group is very small. Cyclic groups corresponds to take a cube root. So that's what's going on down here. For the cubic formula, we've decided, okay, it's not totally trivial, A2, but it is A3, which has only got 3 things in it, and it's cyclic. So I think that's why we've stopped there, because now we're going to do something slightly different, which is we've now broken down our group to say, this is a little bit, it's a little bit like, you can't really label it like this, but never mind, this is kind of C2 at most. This is kind of C2, because putting these in had a polynomial of degree 2, so it's a degree at most 2 over here. This is a degree at most 2, and then this is A3, which is Z3, or it might be trivial. So each of these might be trivial, or they might be one of these groups. It's possible. I shouldn't really label them because we don't know that it's those, but it's possibly like we've broken it down into little steps that just correspond to cyclic quotients. The quotient for the group corresponds to the Galois structure by theorem 4.4, which I do want to have another look at. It's kind of the main thing, I suppose, about it's the fundamental theorem of Galois theory. Right, okay, now over here they're looking at betas and gammas, and I can't remember why. So they've got the omegas in now. They've got the roots of unity. So we have roots of unity, and then we're building the roots, or building the roots of, and they're kind of tunity, but not really two, but that's what I've been calling them this week. The roots of something else. Here is something where its cube was already in the underlying field, so putting in this cube root would be a really good idea. Then we'd have beta. Oh, the roots are related, so these are called characters, I think. Now, why don't we just have down here alpha? I think it's M as well, but we've done a sort of trick to remove one of the coefficients of the polynomial, which, when I was much younger, somebody said, "I know, I can explain using Galois theory. I can explain the cubic formula to you." And the first thing they said was, "You could do this trick to get rid of the quadratic coefficient," and that was the only step I understood. And now, many years later, we're here, and I understand the next step as well, which is construct the Galois group for the permutations of the field that respect multiplication, which is quite a mouthful, but not something I understood as a kid. Now I'm providing that experience the other way around for everyone else, of course. It's the circle of life. Is that called a depressed cubic? Good question. I've heard that term before. Yes, that's called a depressed cubic. Thank you, Herb. I'm going to mark that on my notes. Recently got into an argument. Detail. Get the roots out of these characters. It's kind of interesting, I guess, because they're linear combinations. So this is just linear algebra. I should not overreact to linear algebra. I've seen a lot of linear algebra. Okay, we're in good shape, I think. We have some understanding of the cubic. So down here, let's finally hit this. Should understand this Galois. There's an exclamation mark down here, which is my sign to come back later and understand something a bit better. Usually, by the time I come back, it's sort of either A, still really difficult, or B, I don't understand what the problem was, which is good. It's increased understanding. If that's the trivial group, M is that. The claim holds that these things were already in there. Because M is equal to that. So those things, so the beta's lying there, so the beta cubes would definitely lie in there. If beta lies in here, then beta cube lies in here. Good. If this, then the claim follows 5.7 and 4.6. I can't remember what those were. Oh, that's this construction of. That's the construction with characters of finding the things. Yes, this. There is a number. Was there a claim on 5.7 to say that it had to be irreducible or something? No. There's no polynomial in there. Flippity flip. in this case, so we've got a big general case overall, so I can't say anything about P generally. I've got to analyse the particular case that we're in. The Gower group of M over this is non-trivial. That's a good start. So multiple roots would be that this was 0 and then M for the whole thing. Roots with multiplicities. Cubic. Oh no. I really liked your idea of can we interact with this? Herb says, and this is quite sad, I liked your idea of cubics having with positive coefficients happy and negative sad. Is it arbitrary? A recurring disagreement. I mean, it's well defined, and it gives me a word for talking about those cubics. Not very scientific, I suppose, but kind of a word for things. Right, this is me avoiding the question of why P is irreducible in this case. I kind of get the roots have no multiplicities, right? Otherwise that would be... The main thing I'm thinking about is complex conjugation means that if there's a repeated root, there's 2 real roots, and the other one's also real. So the Galois group. They could all be like the cube roots. No, multiplicities. This would be 0, and so this would be K of omega. So the Galois group of K of omega over K of omega would be this. This feels silly somehow. Cyclic, but that's fine, right? Oh, P is irreducible. So in this case there are no rational roots and no. Both of these say something like the Galois group is quite large, because if it was reducible, it would have, for a cubic, it would have a rational root. The Galois group wouldn't see that; it would do some quadratic stuff. And if the roots have multiplicities, then the Galois group is not that big because I don't really see how a cubic can have roots of multiplicity without having a rational root. Am I not being imaginative enough? Sometimes happens. Could have the roots root 2 twice and then something else. Doesn't feel realistic. Okay. I think I was supposed to understand this through Galois theory. Let's have a look at 4.6. 4.6. Oh, the minimal polynomial is that where that's the orbit. Oh gosh, okay. So if there's a cyclic group going on, then the roots are orbiting through that. So they're not multiplicity because the minimal polynomial. Okay, so there's some Galois theory stuff maybe here to say if you've got the cyclic group of order 3, that matches the degree of polynomial. So the minimal polynomial has degree 3. There are 3 different roots, so no multiplicities, and you're actually permuting between them rather than fixing them. So they're not in Q. I think it's something like that. Do you want to understand? Okay. So I sort of see the point of 4.6 a little bit more now. 4.6 actually talking about the cubic. 4.6 actually talking about the roots. So this is like orbits, minimal polynomial, something like that. And I'm putting 4.6 on the understanding list. So this is how we do it. This is how we do it. We go in and we try and understand things. Orbits, minimal polynomial. Okay, we actually did a bit of section 5 yesterday, so this is kind of fine. Let's get rid of most of this. So, what am I going to do today? I've been fiddling around with the quadratic cubic stuff at the bottom. I think, in terms of the quest, I've got 1 day left on my quest, and I think the best thing I can do is to find a kind of minimal route through to the Quintic, so that if I want to explain it to somebody else, or if I want to come back and understand it in the future, I've got a kind of minimal path, kind of route of least resistance. Let's do that. So with this Angry King stuff, we've got this pattern. Okay. So this page is going to be route of least resistance. And this is exciting because this is going to be the kind of script for a YouTube video or something. Herb asks in chat, do cubics always have a real root if you let the coefficients be non-real? No. They can have roots anywhere. I've written that very wonky when I'm having another go. So complex polynomials in general can have their roots just anywhere in the complex plane. You sort of know this because if I give you like x minus z1, x minus z2, x minus z3 as like a factorized thing, I'm putting a prefactor at the front as well. Why not? Like some big C, where these things are all complex numbers. Then clearly I can choose z1, z2, z3 to be any 3 numbers I like in the complex plane, and I'll get a cubic with probably complex coefficients. So in general, polynomials are in not quite, but almost one-to-one correspondence with triples of points in the complex plane. Not quite because of stuff about repeated roots and prefactors and permuting the roots, which I guess is what we're doing. In general, you can do kind of anything. Okay, so plan for this page is root of least resistance. Happier with that? Yeah, it's mad, right? The idea that a cubic always has a real root is really a very much real coefficients kind of thing. I do want to do at some point RC functions. There's some content you can do about polynomials where you put in like real inputs but you have complex coefficients. Anyway, they're slightly interesting but not like a halfway house between actual complex polynomials. They have some properties and they don't have others. Anyway, I just wanted to do some housekeeping. Sorry, this notebook is quite messy. I want to rearrange the pages a bit. You can't even see me do this. Where's place it after the current page? Right, okay. I'm going to do some messing around here. I'm sorry, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where the explanation looks really obvious, but I have to be a bit careful sometimes, right, when I'm explaining things, because if you explain it in a way that makes it look too easy, then people stop asking questions because they're worried their questions are too basic. But throughout this week, I've been asking myself some questions that turn out to be really stupid. Like, well, not like in this thing about why have I put in the square root of the determinant, and what do you mean? What do you mean the determinant now has a square? Those two confusions were very linked. Why have you put in the square root of 3? And what do you mean 3's now got a square in? Why have you put in root 3? And what do you mean 3 is now a square in your field? That was it. That was the confusion. I had like these two things to be like these two things of what do you mean root 3 is in your field? is in your field. And what do you mean 3 is a square in your field? How do you know that 3 is a square in your field? And why have you put root 3 in your field? Oh, right, okay. You put root 3 in your field so that there would be a square root of 3. 3 would be a square because you put in root 3. Which, you know, how do you... These questions, are the right things to ask? You've got to keep asking them. Even if they feel daft afterwards. I don't know if Andrew Wiles now thinks that... This would be a good question for Andrew Wiles. Does he now think that it was daft to ever consider that there would be solutions to x to the n plus y to the n equals z to the n for n bigger than 2 for integer solutions? Does he think that that's like completely daft? Why did I think there could be solutions at all? I mean, probably never thought that there were solutions. I don't know. Maybe all questions feel a bit silly after you know the answer. We should ask that guy. Right, okay. I think I've now put this next to the map. Oh no, next to the big table. Yeah, I still want to rearrange pages. I'll let you look at the map while I rearrange pages. So behind the scenes, this is like a notebook with separate pages where I am trying my best to keep things together over a week of writing stuff down. Okay. So, map stuff. There's going to have to be like a meet the crew bit at the start, or like, we're going to call them the fellowship. Okay. Meet the fellowship. You got to know what a group is, because we've got the cyclic group coming up quite a lot. I should probably explain at the start what a ring is, a field, a vector space. Those have been the main characters that we see along the way. Rings, not actually much. I suppose we've got polynomial rings. They're very important. So you throw some examples as well, and you try and get this characteristic of what these things are like. They're kind of like strengths and weaknesses. It's not quite meet the fellowship, it's meet the fellowship, it's like form the fellowship or something. Fellowship of the ring. These characters are kind of different. I've been describing the group theory as like elves all along, and the fields are kind of almost too perfect. So then a field with a subfield is like a vector space. So classic example is the reals within the complex numbers, where you get to do a vector space for the complex numbers over the reals, with using reals as your scalars. And that makes more sense once you've met them and you've really kind of got a feeling for how fields work with their inverse elements and how vector spaces work with their linear combinations, and the idea why having a subfield is very nice. I think we should probably have standardized letters for these things. So I'm going to try and make sure that I always use G or H for groups, R for field, R for rings, and then the fields, it would make sense to say F, but we seem to use K, L, M a lot in here. We've often got M for an intermediate field. Just weird it's not alphabetical is it, to have M in the middle. So I might mess around with that. And like V is a good letter for a vector space. Okay. So, intro that your field with a subfield is like a vector space. And now can you do... So now you probably want to talk about splitting a polynomial. So you probably want to talk about polynomials. You want to define irreducible and separable. And you want to start talking about quotients. You want to do a quotient by polynomial. Ideal. This thing about the king banning stuff. And in there you want to talk about you want to make sure it's clear what you give, like maybe a proof of why it's a field. So irreducible polynomial gives a field. So there's a way of constructing a field, and then even if you duck out now, you've got this idea about and contains a root. I think is important down here. Containing a root. So we did a little bit of this yesterday with the angry king banning a polynomial. So you could now say keep going, so splitting fields exist. And for a kind of year 12 audience, I think I might try and get away with splitting fields. Yeah, so sort of like call it keep going to get to the splitting field. With all the roots. And then sort of you imagine that being in C, the complex numbers, because we know that polynomials split in C, and we're kind of thinking about rationals all the way through. So, okay, so we've got this strategy for quotienting by polynomial, which gives you a field containing the roots, and this idea that you can keep going to make a splitting field with all the roots. Now it's time to introduce a splitting field for a separable polynomial. I do want to understand this distinction, irreducible, separable, because I would like it if I could just get away with one of those things. Can't quotient by a reducible polynomial and get a field. What I think you should do. Quotient by reducible thing. How are you supposed to form the splitting field? So this is good, right? Trying to explain it is how you get to understanding. So I now have this question: how are you supposed to form the splitting field of a polynomial that's separable but not reducible, but not irreducible? Because those are the ones we have in Galois theory in general. We have separable polynomials in Galois theory, but I can only see how to do the roots for an irreducible polynomial. Maybe I'm supposed to take a reduced component. I remember this is theorem 3.13. So back to the notes. Skim all the way back through to 3.13. I'll know it when I see it. Ah, yeah, okay. Oh, there it was. Right, so take P in here. There exists a field extension which is split between P. No conditions on P. Could be irreducible, separable, or neither. Right, yeah, let P1 be an irreducible factor of P. Okay, so you're supposed to do it, I now understand this slightly better. You're supposed to do this over the irreducible components. Yeah, now repeat. Right, so you're supposed to take irreducible components all the way up. Now it's not obvious how many of those you're going to get because things might start reducing. As you put in these roots, to start off with, things might start reducing on the way up, which is why it might not be as large as I would guess. Okay. Well, you can't do arbitrary permutations. So you might expect your cubic to have group S3. It's the group I would guess, but permutations, there are 3 roots. I might expect Galois theory to say, oh, you just permute the roots, it's fine. S3, the symmetry is of moving around 3 things. But then we saw that actually Gal group's a subgroup of Gal group over. Or maybe it is. Look, never mind for the cubic. Maybe it could be S3. We said that the Gal group over some extension was A3, but there could have been an extra bit of 2 in there to give it degree 6 overall. Maybe it could be S3. It would be strange, but actually, I think it would be strange if it could never be S3. Element of order 3 and a transposition, if you've got complex roots. Yeah. Okay, so a cubic with complex roots, 2 complex roots. By the argument near the end, where we had an Sn. Yeah, okay, your group could be S3, and I think probably is in a lot of cases. Not if all the roots are real. Now I'm not so sure because I can't see an element of order 2. How could you switch two of your roots and keep the other one fixed? Okay. Understanding the groups. Okay. So that's how you get to a splitting extension for a separable polynomial. Separable polynomial if its irreducible components have no repeated roots. Okay. Its irreducible components have no. Yeah, I want separable polynomial again very quickly. No, give me the natural isomorphism. Give me this natural isomorphism. Sending x to alpha. Okay, to get your polynomial, x is like the polynomial ring quotient thing that you do. The king's angry, do the polynomial quotient. That's a bit like m, the extension we throw in alpha, because then powers of alpha. Yeah, okay. Oh, well, you have those in both. Right, good, okay. Show me separable polynomials again. They're here. Polynomials separable if all the irreducible factors have no multiple roots. Yeah, this does worry me because I sort of think like, what are the irreducible factors? Irreducible factors are like x minus 2 twice. P's got multiple roots. So I think I want to just check a different definition of separable polynomial. Apparently I already did this. Yeah, okay, so no, Wikipedia's got a definition that I understand a little bit differently. Wikipedia's got two definitions. Right, let's see if I can smash cut to Wikipedia. Because that's interesting. Cut. Wiki's got two definitions of separable polynomial. Perfect field, what is going on? So if its roots are distinct in algebraic closure of K, that sounds fine, no repeated roots. Move to the algebraic closure and it comes back down. Closely related to the A, square free polynomial, fine, okay. K is a perfect field. Can I just check that these things are always perfect? One of the following conditions hold. Oh, characteristic 0. Excuse me, this. All fields are characteristic 0. Oh, perfect. General Galois sort of phi extension to be separable, automatically satisfied. Every finite extension is separable. Oh, I think this is. Yeah, okay. Perfect fields. So this feels like a root of. Okay. Perfect field. Two concepts coincide. Right, okay. So we might not be able to do some more general kind of Galois theory, but for our root of least resistance to the cubic over the quintic over the rationals, we can maybe get away with having this kind of perfect field thing. Dependent on the field, any polynomial of a perfect field can be considered separable. Oh. Yeah, okay, that's very confusing. Convenient for Galois theory is no longer in use. Right, okay. Oh, that Galois theory page has got interesting diagrams on. Let's have a quick look at that. Subgroups, sub fields, and the corresponding subgroups of this. Yeah, good. Okay, we had an example like this with root to an I in it. Other things that we should be doing. Compass and straight edge in Galois theory. Is that on Wikipedia? Blah 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 blah. No. Okay. Right. Good. Right. Stop going down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and think a little bit about fields of characteristic 0 being good. Yeah, here it is, this smiley face thing. If K is a field like Q and the characteristic 0, then all the algebraic extensions are separable. So can my root of least resistance just kind of assume that we're in this? Oh, Herb says, what are irreducible polynomials? Irreducible polynomials are ones that don't factorize, so it's dependent on the field. This thing is irreducible. Sorry, no, it's not. This thing is reducible in Z. Let's do a different example. This thing is irreducible in Z, but it's reducible in Zi. If you have complex numbers, then you can reduce it. So the notion of being reducible depends on which field you're in, but it's whether you can factorize it. K is a field and the characteristic is 0. Any irreducible polynomial with coefficient of K is separable. No, hang on. This believes that any irreducible polynomial with coefficient of K is separable. So the definition of this. So I'm just going to say. Okay, so I think my root of least resistance is going to say something like any irreducible polynomial is separable. Okay, so you could do Galois extensions on it. Any Q in QX. That's what I meant there. QX. Okay. Maybe I should only let you do. Oh, so then it's over its reducible over its factors. I sort of want to stop worrying about the difference between the irreducible and reducible. Oh yeah, it's not just about factors. Sorry, good point. Thanks for saying this. It's not just about factors, because you can have stuff like this. I want to write down two cubics you can't solve. You can have stuff like this, where this is, if I multiply it out, I'll get some big polynomial, fine. This polynomial is reducible, but actually doesn't have any root. It's nothing to do with it having roots or not in Q. It's just reducible because you can factorize it. That sort of only kicks in when you hit degree 4, that you just have to start worrying about reducing it into these irreducible factors. It's a bit like prime factorization in a way. In a way, it's from ring theory. It's a bit like prime factorization, where the primes are things that you can't break down any further. Primes and irreducibles are kind of not always the same thing. So again, I think we're brushing stuff under the carpet, but hey. So now I think you can get away with, so go over so keep going over the irreducible factors to get a splitting field with all the roots, which we're going to imagine being part of C, because we know that we sort of separately know that over all of C this thing splits. Maybe that's not useful then to imagine that's over C. I've quite liked imagining that root 2 is just sort of some alien thing that lives somewhere else, and imagining it to be a real number is not quite relevant somehow. Okay. So I think after that point it's time to start talking about Galois. So if you can do a splitting field for a separable polynomial, I think algebraic extension of K of separable. Algebraic extensions. So I'm worried about separable extensions. So if it's generated as the roots of the polynomial, then it's like this. So I'm going to try and get away with now saying when you can define your Galois extension. So I kind of want to just talk about this bit of the definition: the splitting field of a separable polynomial over K. Yeah, and I have to say separable, not irreducible, because when you go to higher order, these things might turn out to be reducible. Something. You might simplify massively and get some nice separable thing in your field when you start adjoining roots. So it's not okay for me to just define Galois extensions as the sort of thing you do over an irreducible polynomial. I think I've got to say over a separable polynomial. But that's like 2 sentences, that's fine. That's you can get away with it. So irreducible polynomial can't be factorized. Separable polynomial is product of those. Sounds like all of them, doesn't it? No repeated roots within its irreducible components. Or maybe no repeated roots. I'll brush it on the carpet and just insist there's no repeated roots in general. Yeah, let's just have no repeated roots in general. That way I still know the determinant is non-zero. Cool, okay. So maybe I sort of just globally ban root of least resistance, maybe I totally ban things with repeated roots. So separable. So then you introduce the idea of a Galois extension for your polynomial P of x. So you do it very much in the context of there's a polynomial and you want to go to your Galois extension. It's the splitting field of a separable polynomial over K. Yeah, okay. But it's going to have to say that it fixes K. So you're going to maybe need to prove that it fixes only K. Prove that it only fixes K because that's an equivalent thing that we get. So maybe we need that in our part of root of least resistance. I'm not sure. That's part of 3.18 to show that those things are equivalent. Quick look at the proof of 3.18 to check how hard that would be to do. Does it use loads of previous technology, for example? I just want to go maybe from 2 to 1. Oh gosh, that's not one of the ones there. Because 2 to 1, the proof in these notes goes 2 to 3 and then 3 to 1. Oh, that's not too bad. Look, it's this much. Take the minimal polynomial. That's separable. I was going via this thing. Splitting field. What's 2 to 3? What does 2 to 3 mean? 2 says start with normal and separable. Oh no, yeah, okay, so I've got 3. No, I want to get from 3 to 1. This is doable. I want to start by saying it's the, if I define it to be that, then here, can I explain this? As a remark and a tautology. That sounds doable. So this is the 3 to 1 bit of 3 to 18, which is not too bad. It's complicated really, but no hard technology. 3.18 I implies I with a tautology. Okay. And probably want to prove the other way around as well. The other way around looks like more work. And the other way around, I'm going to have to do all of this. Bother. No, this is not too bad. It's about fixing. Okay, maybe you got to do all the proof of 3.18. It uses orbits, which is cool. 3.18 in general. Okay. So maybe we'll need both of these Galois extension kind of definitions, both equivalent definitions. Where am I going with this? I want to start trying to talk about. So then you do some like stuff to say. Like automorphisms K over L, and you want to here develop some kind of understanding that they fix K element wise and permute the roots. So sort of from understanding here, like we get these moments of understanding from the king band thing and from thinking about strengths and weaknesses. So this is a column of like understanding down here. It's like not in the notes, but something where you want to do. Okay, so you've got some introduction to what a Galois extension is and how it permutes the roots. Then what we need is probably, and this is the chunky bit, isn't it? It's going to be the chunky bit of anything that we do, is to try and prove fundamental theorem. Now maybe we get away with, so I haven't yet really studied the bookwork here for the proof of Vartham's lemma. There's some linear algebra going on, it looks good. It uses 3.18. Yeah, so it does use 3.18. To say that G is I don't know what that's doing actually. I was talking about fix, I think. Thing to the fixed. Okay. So I probably want the tower law in here somewhere, right? Let's put the tower law. Controversial. Where do you start introducing the idea of three fields at once? Is it up here, where you say, suppose, and maybe it's now, maybe it's down the bottom. Suppose KLM like that, where I'm taking M to be the large field, so they're in alphabetical order. Then you can do this kind of like vector space stuff to get the tower law for the dimensions of those vector space. Dimension of, yes, and now this is where you talk about L over K. Not here. You had a field for your coefficients, and now you've got a big field for your field augmented with the roots. And so that now you're thinking about that as vector space because of the thing we said up here before. Vector space stuff, so you get the tower law up here, but then we want to also go and say, suppose they were successive Galois extensions. Because I'm trying to think about doing the radical extension thing where you put in lots of roots. Yeah, so you need the tower law for the dimension stuff. And you go, suppose these were successive Galois extensions. And you've got to explain what that means. Is there was some polynomial in K of X. So there's some polynomial in K of X, and then some polynomial in L of X. So suppose we went to the splitting field for some polynomial, and then using your new world, so note that the second poly, so here's like an embarrassment of riches, because you've got so many fields that you can do. You can consider them in vector spaces in 3 different ways. If you've got field inside a field inside a field, you can imagine the top one to be a vector space using the smallest one as the scalars, or you can imagine the top one to be a vector space using the middle one as scalars, or you can imagine the middle one using it as a vector space using the smallest one as scalars. And kind of 3. 1, 2, 3. Like the second poly has coefficients in L, which might be like the extension. Do I need to use the language K of alpha? Maybe not. These like simple extensions. I could just call them KLM throughout. That would be good. So we could keep going. Suppose it's successive Galois extensions. Now what I need to do is, oh my goodness, this is the technical bit, isn't it? So what I want to do is convince you that those were, yeah, okay, so I only want some of this, right? We're motivated by a single kind of direction. I'm trying to show that Quintics don't have solutions. So this is like if and only if stuff here. We only care about one direction. Proper directions. We only care about 1D. So it's going to follow that. So if everything's a Galois extension, is the top thing a Galois extension? So I've got both of those as Galois extensions building it up. Is the thing overall a Galois extension? What's the polynomial? Polynomial with coefficients in L. Can you turn that into a polynomial with coefficients in K? Let me see how. So those coefficients in L include my roots. The roots come from separate polynomials. So I've got a P and a Q or something. A Q over L. Yeah, why is this overall thing a Galois extension at all? Oh, maybe I'm going to use this kind of other definition to understand that this is separable and normal. Yeah, this is what I want. I want to understand a bit more why if you do successive Galois extensions, that counts as one big Galois extension, and has a Galois group, such that you could then think about normal subgroups of that. So I want to come back and talk about down here. I want to talk about like, normal subgroup. And then, okay, yeah, so sketch now over here. So 4.4. Sketch for the rest of it. The polynomial x to the n minus a. So taking nth roots of stuff you already had. Gives kind of quotient similar to a cyclic group. So if that's all you did, there's a chain of normal subgroups in your overall Galois group. Sort of chain, that's called solvable. But S5 is not like that. And here's a quintic. with S5 as its Galois group because, and you can find an element of find a 5-cycle, demonstrate a 5-cycle and a 2-cycle, which is a complex conjugation, which is cool. The 5-cycle is a little bit harder to find, but you got to talk about the degree. That is a bit more difficult. But I think on a single page, so on a single screen, take your screenshots now, I guess. That's the root of least resistance to understand the quintic. That's the quest. The sticky bit is around here, where there's going to be some technical stuff to do these kind of equivalent definitions, which I think I need down here. And I don't currently understand this step, how I'm going to convince you that Galois and then another Galois extension is overall a Galois extension. I actually want to go back in and understand, back into the notes and understand that. Because I think theorem 4.4 is not quite there, because it tells me that if the big one's Galois and the top one's Galois. But I've been imagining this as building up. Oh no, this is fine, I can get away with this. Because no, maybe not. I'm kind of imagining you building up, but really I should be imagining coming down from the overall Galois group. That you're not just randomly throwing in square roots for no reason. You're trying to build the Galois group that has your roots in. No one's saying you're not allowed to do nth roots at all. You do nth roots, you just can't generate the Galois group of the roots of the quintic. So I've got a big Galois group at the end. Yeah, so look, I've got to look at your last step. Look at last step and iterate, I suppose. But we're coming down from your last step to say you built the big Galois group. Hooray, you did it, you're finished. You think you're done? But actually now let's backtrack. Backtracking. We've got to come back down, looking at quotients successively from the Galois group you claim to have built overall, to look at, oh, what was the last thing you did? Oh, it was an nth root, cool. That means there's a cyclic quotient. Okay, and okay, I'm happier with that now. So it's kind of backtracking idea to say, oh wow, you've finished, you completed it, you built something. Because you can build stuff on the way up. It's not actually obvious to me that you're building a Galois extension, but hey, anyway, never mind. By throwing it in through sort of random items in your random items. Something to think about there. Is it Galois? Is it Galois? What's fixed? That's the easiest one to think about. What's fixed? So overall, the action of G over K would fix K, right? Does it fix anything else? Maybe. There's some new stuff, right? When you extended your field out, how do I know that your field's not fixing all the stuff out there? You promised to do a Galois extension, that's the second one. Okay. Go around in circles, and I think I could just walk backwards. I think I could just come backwards down from the top. Okay, so the hard steps, the ones that I want to think about a little bit more, are aha, normal subgroup, because that's the kind of key thing. And over here, where's the quotient? And maybe I could get here for least resistance, n equals p prime. Try and convince you that I'll just think about prime roots because they've got an they're easier to think about because the groups of prime order are cyclic. You can say prime number a lot. Okay. So back into 4.4 then. I want to understand this aha normal subgroup. So here we've got loads of Galois extensions everywhere. So this bit down here is part 3. Yeah, here we go. If and only if, so this is only if is the key bit. The only if is the key bit for the Quintic quest. The group is a normal subgroup of that overall Galois group. In that case, you could look at this isomorphism. So this is the quotient. But you're a normal subgroup now, so we're going to do the quotient. We're going to look at the quotient. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's isomorphism. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah, right, okay. Show me the only if proof for 3. Not this suppose that GM is a normal group, which would convince me that it fixes. I only want to show you for the minimal root this bit down here. Intermediate field where that's a Galois extension, or down there is a Galois extension as well. Full gamma. It's about fixes. It's about fixes and preserving the ends. So I do want that fixed definition. 3.13.3, right? Okay, there's the different interpretations in here. Group homomorphism. Just restrict. Look at the way it mixes. That's going to be hard to explain. First isomorphism theorem. So you do need, in order to pull that off, you need it's the kernel of homomorphism. So for groups, you do needs the first isotherm for groups in here. Now, did we need the first isomorphism theorem for the rings somewhere up here as well? Possibly we did. Yeah, possibly to convince you it's a field in here. Possibly I need the isomorphism theorem to convince you that that's a field, or that it's isomorphic to the image. Quotient being what you're actually doing. Kernel being the ideal generated by the polynomial. Yeah, interesting, okay. This is maybe the stuff that I want. Okay, I'm starting to think that I need quite a lot of 3.18. Let's have a quick look back at 3.18. And unfortunately, I don't need Arden's lemma at all. Maybe I don't, right? If you've built this. So Arden's lemma is in the proof of I say. You got map between subfields and subgroups to be used I somewhere down here. Maybe not. Be good if we could get away without proving Arden's lemma. Actually, a bijection, so that actually all your subgroups line up nicely with fixed intermediate fields. Only care about one particular fixed intermediate field and the group that you get from it. Intermediate field. It's just these few lines here. Because you did your Galois extensions and you got an intermediate field along the way up. If you only care about one direction, makes everything a lot simpler. Okay. This really starts to look like we could do some Quintic stuff without doing too much work. Not being able to build the kind of general thing, but giving this kind of picture along the way of kind of some of the fun elements. What do I need from 3.18 right now? It looks like I really want to talk about splitting extensions of several polynomials coefficient in K. Definitely want that. That's how I like to think about Galois extensions. And it looks like I maybe also want I. So I really want to understand that 3 to y bit here. This is star for the minimal root. Okay, so this kind of minimal root has got some, I'm afraid, homomorphism theory in there, but only first isomorphism theorem, which is not too bad. And you get to do some fun group stuff. So it could like be the fellowship at the start demonstrating their unique powers, group homomorphisms and cyclic groups. Maybe ring homomorphisms. Okay. So 3 to 1. Okay, and some of this is easy. The automorphisms fix K in L by definition. The extension is a composition of the extension. So this is an intermediate field, maybe. Things fixed in L. Things fixed in L. Oh, it keeps going down here. That's getting used to 3.17. It's more of it than I thought. 3.17 about counting. Dimension and automorphism style. But that's important. That is important. Can I read this in a different way? Automorphisms of L, M, L. So things that in L that are fixed by M. I want those to be fixed by this. No. A G for the group, sorry. Not field, it's a group. Things in L that are fixed by G. Consider the automorphisms that fix those. Oh, that's just sum of G. Anything in here. Anything that permutes L and fixes all of this. It fixes all the stuff that's fixed by G. So that could just be in G. That kind of argument, I think, but with feeling. These things meet all of the conditions to be an automorphism like this, because they are permutations, there are automorphisms of L that respect the ring structure, and they fix loads of stuff. They fix all the stuff that G for you. They fix things that fix like everything in G. So these things are super well behaved. They fix all the things that fix by everything in G. That includes like the things in G, right? They have to fix L. Sorry, the things in G have fixed K. If you're in G, the minimum required to be in G is just you're just in G if you fix K. If you're an automorphism and you fix K, so that's the like standard here. It's like, do you fix K? It's like whoa, everything in G fixes K. Yeah. So K is in. G fixes K. Yeah, G fixes K. So K is in LG. So we totally succeed at having this being in here. So this tautology is actually not that bad to understand. Wait, no. Damn it. Tautologically it coincides. That means it's actually equal. So I've got to understand why this is actually K, I think. The only thing fixed in L fixed by everything in G. Wait, because G is the automorphisms. G fixes K. On the other hand, G is automorphisms of K over L. They and by Galois theory, by the kind of Galois idea, L over K, because L over K is Galois? Yeah, because L over K is Galois, the actual fix L to the G is equal to K. Yeah, okay. L to the L to this automorphism group is equal to K because L over K is Galois. So L to this thing, by the definition of L over K being Galois, this thing is just K. Okay, now look at the sizes. So you've got this intermediate thing. Wait, hang on, I think that's K. By the definition of Galois. Oh, am I trying to prove that it's Galois? Yeah, I'm trying to prove that. Whoops. Tautologically. So this is trying to convince me that every one of them. Let's just read the next bit and come back. Next bit says that that degree is the size of those automorphisms, and too many brackets here. That degree is the size of those automorphisms. This is just the kind of size of automorphism fact. We like that. But these things are actually the same. So these things are the same. And that says that, the Tower law, gosh. Because I want to call this, I think I really do want to call this M or something. Either M is intermediate, so M of K has got size 1. Right, Tower law. So the dimension of that is, dimension of M over K is 1, so M is actually equal to K. Image of K, dimension, okay. Tough stuff. I don't get this tautology. So many subscripts and superscripts. I agree that it's in. So I suppose I should take any automorphism that fixes K and try and convince myself it's an automorphism that fixes all of that. So if you fix K, so you're an automorphism, you fix K. Now if you're in this set is things that are fixed by all of the automorphisms. So if you're an automorphism, you fix all of this stuff. Right, okay, it's tautology. It is a tautology, I think. If you're an automorphism, then you definitely fix all of this stuff. The barrier here is pretty high for every. It's things that are fixed by all automorphisms. But if you're just an example of an automorphism from the right-hand side, then you fix all of that, because those are things that are fixed by all automorphisms. So you specify that you're in the left-hand side as well. So those are equal. Okay, I can probably put that in. That seems fine. Definitely want 3 to 1. Do I want this concept of being a normal extension? No, I don't mention normal extensions at all if I can get away with it. Okay, so my minimal path mode doesn't mention normal extensions. It just has 3. I've gone back to thinking that I just want 3.8. 3 to 1 with the tautology, but spell it out a bit more. Okay, yeah. That seems to be the plan. Is that the normal subgroup isomorphism theorem? Yeah, and we're avoiding 4.2, I think, and most of 3.18. We need 3.17 for the size in here, so let's have another look at 3.17 and just check that doesn't use too much technology in 3.17. Why is the size of these things? And that's 3.15 with L equals M J. Okay, but that is a shortcut. So it feels in my shortest version I only care about 315 for automorphisms. 315. Quick look at 315. Algebraic field extension like that. It's just the counting with the degrees of the minimal polynomials. And this was quite tricky. This is where I had to admit that it's not as many as I thought. But it is quite a few. Enjoy your revision. Thanks, Herb. Take care. Have a good day. Degrees multiplying together. Okay. Mumble. Kind of forgot Herb was here. Sorry, Herb. Just sort of mumbling to myself and to this tiny L. Okay. And Herb. Okay. With 3.15 for automorphisms only. Maybe try and get it without saying automorphism. Can you do Galois theory without saying automorphism? No, that's mad. That's really silly. So over here we've got to go protect the addition structure. That seems to be really important. Fix K. Permute the roots. So you can quite directly do something like that to show how, so gamma in the Galois group might do gamma of P of X equals P of gamma of X. And automorphisms have trivial kernel. You shouldn't send zero to zero. There's kind of understanding that we need to build with automorphisms up there. Yeah, okay, you can maybe even demonstrate it on, so demo, or reals over the complex numbers over the real numbers, and maybe a demo with automorphisms of, these are going to be the same, q root of q root 2 over q, and then automorphisms of, it's not ring automorphisms, ring automorphisms where this cyclic thing, so down here there's this like homomorphism into the cyclic thing. I do want to understand that still a little bit better, and this counting thing about minimal polynomials, the size, which then comes in because then you've got a polynomial degree p, so you get the degree of the extension for the only thing I'm letting you do is like p-th roots, so I'll give dimension p, well it's going to correspond with the cyclic groups, so it's going to have size p. Why do you need the size of these things? Because you're going to argue about you use the Tower law in there and talk about, I guess we've got to have the intermediate stuff before. So now I'm considering moving that way up. Let's talk about these. Oh no, Tower law stuff way earlier. Do you need it for 3.5? Actually, maybe you don't. Counting automorphism. In the counting automorphism bit, no, yeah, we don't, because we're not doing multiple, because we're just saying L equals M equals J in there. Keeps the star because I want to understand it better. Okay, what is it, 10:30? 10:30 means I'm going to go make some coffee with my, as commented, super fast kettle. Yeah, if you're watching along at home, nobody is. If you're watching the VOD, then, come on, really? It's been like 40 hours. We've understood this now, right? Go and write out some examples instead. You've got 5 minutes while I make coffee. Nobody's watching the VOD. This is fine, I can say anything. The quest is to be continued. Okay. I think I want to go back to 3.15. I was just thinking while the kettle was boiling. Do I want to type this up? Do I want to copy it out? How am I going to do this? 3.15 is slightly awkward because it has a page turn in it, in the proof. And it has these other ring maps going on about where the roots are going. And I kind of only want to think about automorphisms right now. There's the no, you need the tower law before this. Why are these separate things? Can we do them one at a time? Can you do them one at a time as well? Yeah, what if I make you do them one at a time? Take it slow. Take it slow, do them one at a time. Well, why not, right? There's a special case where you just have one of them, and then I don't have to write the products out. So these are my suggested simplifications. Just take little k equals 1 to make it easier to think about. Okay, so L equals M equals J. So we're already in the splitting splitting extension. Not L equals M equals K. So what would that say? That would say we've just got M, B, K alpha, and we're going to have J also being that. So we're looking at the automorphisms. What's the case? It's just M to J. So we're looking at the K extension, the automorphisms of M that fix K. I'm going to call both of them L. Okay, I think this is going to be simple once we've written it out. So it's going to say something like, let L over K be an extension in which the polynomial M alpha. So we could just take the minimal polynomial, and not, instead of M alpha 1, we could call it M1, or just M. Mx, minimal polynomial for alpha. I'm just going to call it alpha, just K of alpha, right? And that is the polynomial. Do I know that it splits? No, I've got cold feet now. Because you don't know that that splits. When you put in a root, you don't know that the minimal polynomial splits. So you have to keep going by putting in more roots. Yep, okay. That was too simple. There's a reason it's doing this. Okay, so we had the idea in the shortest route. We had this idea that you would keep going until you've reached the splitting field. Splitting extension. The extension in which the polynomial. Now that polynomial. Do I believe that polynomial lies in K? X. Difficult. Those are the middle polynomials. No hints, right? No hints, just apply it. So maybe it's true. Maybe I'll just believe it. For now, I'll just believe it. So the polynomial splits in the splitting extension. Yeah, I kind of don't want to start there, do I? I want to start with polynomial. Because I'm using this on a sort of Galois extension where you split a polynomial. So I sort of want to start with P. Go to the splitting field. Now look at the polynomial P. Write it out. So this is where the polynomial P splits. So can I set this to be P? By just doing extensions, so that's fine. Where those things split in K. Right, we've been told that's an algebraic field extension. Oh, right, algebraic here means that each thing has polynomial, its polynomial root in K, sort of coefficients in K. So this is my concern, that is it obvious these things are in K. So this is algebraic here means that, oh, we did all these things and they're still algebraic. So it's not obvious to me that that composition of, when you go to the splitting field, that composition of simple extensions is algebraic. Yeah, show me the simple extensions again. Side note. So really closely read this now. 314. Element splits. Roots does not split. Generated by the roots. Generated by the roots. Okay, so this is generated by the roots. So therefore, so it's a splitting extension always algebraic because the roots all satisfy, or came from, those roots all have at least minimal polynomial factor of the polynomial that you split. So it's algebraic. Yeah, all the roots. When you do this splitting thing, you're getting roots of p, which means the minimal polynomial for those roots. Although you've gained them from some weird abstract splitty, go to these extended quotient things, they all have this like minimal polynomial. They all satisfy the polynomial p, which had coefficients in k. That's the kind of point of going to this, what it means to be a root. Okay, so I'm happy again. This is algebraic because your splitting extension is definitely algebraic because, look, I can tell you what the minimal polynomial is, more or less, as factors of p. Algebraic, so for anything there is a polynomial that satisfies that has roots in. Yeah, okay. P is a polynomial that satisfies. Okay. Looking at p, which might reduce. Might not be, p might be reducible. Yo! How's it going? Learning Galois theory, it's fun. So after 4 days of learning Galois theory, I'm now trying to shortcut down. To work out which bits are kind of essential for my quest to understand the Quintic. If you like, I've got this map for where we've been, going from the world of like group theory of vector spaces, which I remember from university, through I had to learn some ring theory, and then navigate around some sort of like field extensions and stuff, up to the Quintic, and I'm trying to find a shortest route. Oh, I like 37, mate. Let's put it in chat just in case. I later found out, I've always liked the number 37. It's a hexagonal number, which is cool. Then I found out it's like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. It's also his favourite number, which then that ruined it a little bit for me. He likes the way that it's prime and 73 is prime, 3 is prime, and 7 is prime. And I'm trying to avoid comparisons with Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Trying to avoid that in my life. So yeah, but no, I was in first. There was they copied me. I often felt The Big Bang Theory was sometimes too similar to conversations that we had with PhD students. Anyway, right, that's the quest. It's where we've been. We're trying to explore this kind of minimal route where you could try and explain it to someone with proper understanding along the way, and ideas and kind of visualizations and things that I want to put in. And there's this tricky step where we want to talk about our knowledge of like the size of some groups. Essentially, the groups in Galois theory are these lovely permutations of roots and things, and the groups turn out to be not that large. So being able to control their size is, or say how large they are, is really important. Down here, the size thing is, where is it? There are this many such maps. This kind of counting argument for the degree. Which might or might not be the degree of the polynomial. it's at least a factor. The degree of the polynomial is at least a factor, because the first split you do, you were using your original irreducible polynomial for your very first split. I can't tell you if you got your other splits, then yeah, okay. Some of the theory works for general polynomials, and some of the theory works for irreducible polynomials that don't factor. This is a case where I've got a polynomial that factors in here. The theory is quite general. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want that. For example, it's like x to the n minus 1 stuff. The degree of that extension, the number of maps, is the number of things that coprime to n. On the way up. I'm trying to understand it by just sort of talking through it. You're welcome to hang out if you want to hang out. Learning maths is hard. What are we doing? Instead of extensions from the map. Oh, gosh. But I'm not trying to extend. Why does it say extensions of the map? Extensions is kind of a reserved word in this. Do you mean the theory? The theory is beautiful. Oh, is this theory? I'm not sure this is beautiful. Oh yeah, math is hard and beautiful, right. I was not certain I would describe this page as beautiful, but that's what I'm trying to read at the moment. If all of these are separable, all the irreducible components have no repeated roots. Yeah, so some of these might have interesting. So the reason this is lots of different minimal polynomials is that some of them might have non-trivial minimal polynomials. If you're dealing with the sixth roots, then some of them satisfy. Some of them are secretly cube roots. So there's all about. There's a lot of nth roots going on in this Quintic quest. If you are talking about extending by putting in the sixth roots, you're like, great idea. I'm going to extend by putting in the sixth roots. Well, actually, some of those are secretly cube roots. So they satisfy a different minimal polynomial, and the degree here for the product, as you put them in, you won't get as many as you thought. So for the alpha i's, when you did your algebraic field extension, not extending with the same alpha twice, because that's not really an extension. There's a lot of different variables and a lot of different things going on. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Right, so if I'm doing my minimal route for the kind of fastest way through, I'm going to start with p of x, because you've got a polynomial, like I'm trying to imagine x to the n minus 1 or something. For your polynomial, maybe you're putting in the roots of unity. We'll talk about how many maps there are. Oh, maybe I can shortcut after that to say. Oh, yeah, okay. This might let me count the automorphisms directly. And since they're a group, just quote that it's cyclic for prime numbers. Oh, shortcut. Possible shortcut. So I'm now going through it. I've been on this stream for like 4 days. I'm trying to put them together. No, I can't remember. No, I'm not sure anyone can they? Or maybe some people can. Can you train yourself to remember your dreams? Don't know. Can you remember your dreams? Anyway. It'd be nice if my dreams were about Galois theory. That would give me extra time. Always remember. So if I think about where that recording space lies in your head, right? Because you've got a lot of time to do dreaming. Yeah, it reimagines. Where does it live? Where do the VODs go? Yeah, I know some of the stuff Ramanujan did. Not like familiar. Cool mathematician. Very, very cool maths. Okay. Okay, that's a quote about Ramanujan, right? You're not telling me that's you. You're telling me he. Oh, right, okay. Maybe. I mean, he wrote down a lot of stuff, right? Okay. It's only, once you've written down so much true math, it's only so cryptic, you can call it. Anyway. Oh, this room really goes proof clear. Maps preserve roots. That's kind of cool, I think. There's a ring map. Ring maps. It's quite a bit of history of mathematicians writing stuff down and then somebody else proving it years later. In good company. $310. The maps of K extensions. M to L, so from K into L will be an extension of fields. So we had K going up to L. The maps are in one-to-one correspondence with the roots. For each map there's a root. For each root there's a map. It seems like this one contains one of them. So 310. You got to choose where you're sending alpha. This is it. You got to choose where you're sending alpha. You've got to send it to one of the roots. Then you're done. M's quite small. Okay, over here. Only final limits of such many extensions. You've got to choose where you're sending alpha 1. You've got to send it to a root of the minimal polynomial of alpha 1. Okay, so this is something about sharing minimal polynomials. Yeah, if you're claiming that's the splitting extension, then you must present it in a way that it's a splitting extension on the way up, generated by the roots, not containing two copies of the roots. I'm a bit worried about K root 2 root 2. I don't totally understand what this is. Is that allowed? Is that real? Is that an extension? What's the minimal product of the minimal polynomials of the alpha i's? Where do numbers come from? These are good questions. So some people think that you could do them separately. And I've seen different ideas about where whole numbers come from. versus real numbers. So for whole numbers, there's just this kind of concept of there's this kind of underlying concept in loads of things about do it again. So for me, numbers come from repetition, I suppose. You've got anything at all, and if you do it again, then you've got the concept of 2 in there. If you do it another time, then you've got kind of the concept of having done it 3 times. And this turns up in, I've seen stuff like you start with the empty set and then you build the set that contains the empty set and the set that contains the empty set and that. And this kind of like, you do it again. And this builds a sequence. For me, it's kind of the underlying do it again nature of human existence. We see this with like polynomials as well. All the stuff we're doing here with polynomials where you've got like the idea of induction as repeated iteration is the kind of concept for me of, I mean, it's like the same thing as what the real numbers, what the natural numbers really are. Then you can get to everything else by doing the correct sort of extensions. It's a cheeky comment because I'm doing Galois theory right now. Like, if you only believe in the rational numbers, then how are you possibly going to explain to someone what root 2 is? And we've seen different ways in this course, in these notes, we've seen different ways to explain what root 2 is. Root of a polynomial, right? How? You need just to insist that the root of a polynomial is there. Part of the trick of getting people to understand complex numbers is to get them to understand just how weird irrational numbers are, and maybe even just how weird rational numbers are, or negative numbers, or where does any of this come from, right? You have some ideas and you build and you extend the theory so that it satisfies certain properties. Complex numbers just turn out to be particularly good. Right, what are we doing? Extending a map. So we're doing the split extension for p of x. It's all about p of x, which is separable, but maybe not irreducible. So no repeated roots, please, but maybe not irreducible. Let me hit the Wikipedia thing again. Older definition. Any polynomial over a separable field will be considered separable. Maybe this is no restriction at all. No, that feels daft. Maybe I don't mention anything. No, I don't want any repeated roots. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. Splitting extension is one where you throw in so many extra numbers that now you have all of the roots of your polynomial, as many as the degree of the polynomial. It's if you do it with induction. Cool. Okay. Finally, many. You've got to preserve it. You've got to send for each minimal polynomial. You can choose where to send. Why can't you rotate them separately? Oh, you can. You can rotate them separately. For each minimal polynomial, the alphas. Choose where to send the alphas. That k root 2 thing was like a repeated root kind of problem. I would like no repeated roots, I think, for the minimal root theory stuff. Okay, so when you put alpha of 1 in, you have that many, which is fine. Note that that's got no multiple roots because of where we're going. What was it? 3.4. What was 3.4? L, right, okay, fine. Okay, I think I'm taking that for red. Like the multiple roots thing. So 310 down, 311, back into 315. Wait, where's 315 gone? It was right here. Ah. Vanished. And here we are. Okay. And then multiply them together. On the way up, you had lots of these minimal polynomials. Do I just want to do the one for a simple extension though? Do I need this? Or do I just need to talk about simple extensions where you throw in one of the roots? Right, so if I only let you do nth roots, if I'm only interested in x to the n minus 1 for n prime, if I'm only interested in those ones, then the minimal polynomial has always got degree n minus 1, and the degree of minimal polynomial. So this is a simple extension. And the degree of the minimal poly is just n minus 1. And the reasoning is just the idea about choice of where to send omega generator. You don't have to worry about these successive polynomials later on. Okay, so maybe I just show you how to count that. Hey, thanks for the follow. Maybe I just do that if the only sorts of extension I'm talking about are putting in nth roots. I'm back to doing them one at a time, and I'm back to thinking about only looking at prime roots. Does that work? There's a bit halfway down 5.18 proof where we took the product, but I think I can get around that by just looking at throwing in prime roots. Way off in theorem 5.18. Wait, no, what do I need theorem 5.18? Anyway, this is the idea, I think, that we're just going to apply this once rather than lots of multiplication. And then if there's only one minimal polynomial, we don't have to use the Tower law. Only K alpha, avoid Tower law here. Okay, and that's kind of an exclamation mark because then our minimal root. Okay, so if we do 315, the size thing for the size of that was at prime, then it's kind of just obviously the cyclic group. So I think that's a shortcut. I think that is a shortcut. If we're only talking about these, then you get a cyclic group. So down here, really want to look at that. Chain of normal subgroups. And that's kind of the idea that you just keep going. So I think I might brush under the carpet any details of 5.18 about doing an actual Cumry extension where you throw in the roots of unity first. I need to go in, I think, and understand next the nth roots bit of the course, where I just want to show that when you do nth roots, the Galois group for that particular extension, that simple extension of putting in the generator of a prime nth root of unity, where I'll imagine it in the complex numbers if I have to, just gives me a cyclic Galois group, prime order. Yeah, okay. And maybe that's cheeky because how would you build a 5/17th root? You do 5th power and a 17th root. How would you build a 6th root? You do a square root and a cube root in that order. Just build them, right? Yeah, if your formula involves 6th roots, just build them out square roots and cube roots for like a just hypothetical formula. Slightly cut a corner, I think. Okay. Yeah, we're getting what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the quintic as fast as possible. It's very cheeky. Okay, let's go into 518 and have a quick look at the maths in 518. We're trying to save a lot of time by only describing the kind of converse bit of Galois theory. So Galois theory is actually this beautiful theory that tells you how you can solve problems. But also, as a consequence, it also tells you that there are some problems where you can look at them and say, no, you can't solve that using this sort of method. And there's one I care about, which is why you can't solve quintics using radicals. And if you only care about that, then you're good, I think. So why do these Quintic extensions go to all the effort of doing the splitting the roots of unity first? Why are we splitting the roots of unity? Oh, because we need to talk about the nth roots of unity as part of this argument, to say what the relationship between these things is. You want to talk about how you send one of those there, and then the like structure on them is related to the root of unity. So to be able to talk about the root of unity, you need to chuck in the root of unity first. It's kind of clumsy. And then in 5.18, I'm going to have to kind of backtrack and say, so your formula doesn't work either because you can't say the roots of. Kind of clumsy. When you put in nth roots, you're doing. So suppose for a Quintic extension, you suppose that the root of unity split first. Is this therapy? Thoughts you think and thoughts you receive. Oh no, this is like your idea about thoughts coming from somewhere else and Ramanujan getting ideas. No, I don't think you can observe the difference between those, right? I think those are the same when you experience them. Okay, in here somewhere. See if I can pull out just the bit I want. So the proof of B down here. Suppose that the composed extension is radical. So what does this say? You do your radical extension to try and find these things, and then to celebrate, we also put in the nth roots of unity at the end. If you're doing nth roots, I want to say, if those are allowed, I'm also going to put in nth roots. If your formula uses those, why not also just spin around and multiply those up? Yeah, okay. Please take. So maybe your clever plan only had Q roots of unity, and I would like to augment it by also putting in the roots of unity. And if I do that, then because of field stuff, I get my roots of unity, which are a lovely group, and I get a way to move between your nth roots, or whatever you actually took nth roots of, versus mine, because there's just a multiplicative factor, which the theorem we were just looking at in Quintic extension world exploits. Let's read this. Okay, it's not very much. There's loads of hyperlinks, loads of references. Each of those is a Quintic extension. Yep, fine, okay. So you put in, this person's put in just the roots of unity corresponding to T for the product, which might be prime, but I'm going to put in all of them. Just throw in loads of roots of unity. So I don't think it matters if I put in just loads and loads of roots of unity down here. I think it's going to be the same argument, messier notation at the end here. Hence the Galois group is an abelian group. Yep. On the other hand, the group, that one is abelian. So coming down this side, the Galois group of E over K is solvable. Well, the group L over K is a quotient of the group E over K. Oh, okay. Group L over K is a quotient of E over K. Okay, bye. Take care. Yeah, have a good weekend. You too. May your maths always turn out to be beautiful. Quotients are solvable. So you have a quotient over there. You put in these combinatorial roots like this without worrying about. Are you putting these without worrying about whether the roots of unity were already there or not? So you're probably going to say those are not Cumber extensions. Talking to the owl. You're probably going to say those are not actually Cumber extensions, but my way around they are Cumber extensions because I put in roots of unity. I put in loads of roots of unity first. I mirrored you. Whenever you said these ends, I put through in loads of roots of unity. I have loads of steps over here. And then this was, for me, a chain of Cumber extensions. And that last bit down there was also abelian because it's just a whole chunk of, for me, prime throwing in roots of unity, 5.4, 5.2 stuff. Okay. So the thing I built, where I also put in the roots of unity and then did all of the augmentation that you were doing, is solvable. Now, why do I care that L over K? Don't I care about M over K? M over K. Read the theorem. No. There's an imposed thing so that that's solvable. I guess this talks about the existence of a finite extension such that that is radical and the Galois group is solvable. So what's the context here? If there exists a finite extension, M over L, so maybe this was talking about you had the roots. No. Exists a finite extension M over L such that the composed extension is radical. The composed extension would only be radical if it was kind of radical on the way up, right? No. Mean to be radical. Oh gosh. The composed extension is radical. So like Galois and stuff. How do I know that from context in the case of solving with radicals? Okay, this splitting field. Solve for radical. If there is an extension, so it's the composed radical. I think it's radical. So that bond is solvable radicals. So what's the context here for making equations? Solvable by radicals that are an extension M over L, such that the composed extension is radical. Dart's choice, depending on choice of splitting field. Fine, okay. So you went to the splitting field, which contains the roots. A strange and weird place containing the roots. But then you went further. You also went up to throw in these nth roots. That was you making the formula, so that now you've got equations. Roots in terms of the formula? No, you extend up to M. You might be making new stuff as well that's not roots. So the radical extension stuff includes maybe some stuff you didn't want. Yeah, maybe you get some bonus stuff when you solve this. Yeah, okay. When you do your formula, maybe you also generate a larger space, possibly. So we have to allow for this going up to a larger space. How am I going to explain this in the short route? So you went up. Up to M. let's use solve. So M is the place where you did all your radical extension stuff, so that you could solve, including for like L, all of the things that you wanted. L being the splitting field, the one that contains all the roots. M being radical and containing L. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's what your formula is supposed to do. It's supposed to be radical and contain L. It doesn't have to be precisely L. We're saying my formula gives me enough stuff to contain L. Yeah, okay. So technically M could contain L. And then there's some quotienting down there to say, aha, what if we also throw in the roots of unity afterwards? So after you're done, I'm also going to put the roots of unity, and that will make a solvable group. It's solvable because now I'm going to go back and look at the way that the alpha is being added in. Okay. So it's like spinning the outer triangle and the inner triangle. I don't really get why there's a difference. Oh, but it's fine. So there's a subgroup step, there's a quotient step down as well, which I think probably sort of removes the roots of unity anyway. So really I want to look back at the Quintic extensions and think, why have we put the roots of unity in if we're kind of quotienting them out anyway? It's about LK being solvable. Why have we put them in just to take them out? And that's tricky. Let's go back and look at the Quintic extension stuff. And I throw roots of unity in as well. What are you going to do? Oh no, now it's solvable. Because it's a string of cyclic quotients. Clearly that doesn't change anything about your cyclic quotients. Okay. So back it up. We're going back to Quintic extensions. One more time. Solvable. Ooh, those characters we maybe don't need because they're just telling us how to actually make something look like a nth root Quintic extension sort of thing. Yeah, we don't need those in our shortest route. Okay, so here's a proof that I'm going to say n to be prime. Unique group homomorphism from this Galois group that you got by extending to put in. So there's this M over K. Right, where's L? Yeah, there's no L. M is a splitting extension for that one. Cool, okay. Unique group homomorphism for this one, including the roots of A. That Galois group is in here. Group homomorphism and is injective. So if this is a cyclic group of prime order, then we're just done because we know that this Galois group extension has a degree. Yeah, we'll do some counting to say that it has degree 5 or something. It's 5 now. And we'll say we're going in there, it's injective. Different permutations. So so why does K need to include the roots of unity in this argument? And why can't we just talk about roots of unity move around? And it's going to be because I want to talk about the respect that your Galois map has to have for the respect that your map has to have for the roots of unity under that multiplication. That's what's multiplying them. So there's a couple of lines of algebra down here, but the thing that I want to say is that phi of this thing is equal to this for your maybe let's use gamma for your Galois map. And that's true if omega's in gamma. That's exactly what I want to show. Okay, so I need the roots of unity in order to prove that thing. So like I said, the Galois group over there, if the Galois group preserves roots is fixing the roots of unity as a fixed concept, then things are just rotating around because it's going to be multiplication by roots of unity. It's root of unity between your different roots. Okay. So maybe for the quadratic formula, maybe you have to throw in the concept of I. Roots of -1, maybe? No, I is a root of 4, 4th root of unity. Anyway, okay, I like this. We can tidy up this by stacking the fractions. And then if n is prime, this is going to be really good. It fixes, okay, there's some kernel stuff down there, but I think that's to do with not sending everything to the identity if n is prime. Okay, so these are simple extensions. And yeah, okay, well, you've got your inner triangle is your kind of definition of what's a root of unity. For n prime, it doesn't really matter what you pick. And then your outer triangle can be rotated by a Galois group, but it's only doing rotations if it's being nice to it's fixing those roots of unity. So sort of separate triangles. Okay, getting there. Do I want this converse of 5.6? No, not really. Okay, so minimal root is now looking quite good. Minimal root through the theory is something like, let's read it one more time, just to track it through. Explain the idea of a group, because we've got some cyclic groups. So include definitely the cyclic group. A ring, where I want to include the polynomial ring over a field. So maybe do fields first. So include here definitely Q, but also some other stuff. And vector spaces, I don't know, include like sum of dimension 2 and 3 or something. A field with a subfield is like a vector space, so maybe your example here has to include C being like a vector space. It's isomorphic to a vector space. But we should do some other ones as well over there. Okay, demonstrate that a field with a subfield is like a vector space because you do nice stuff. And then talk about polynomials. So separable means, I think instead of ever saying separable, I think we're going to say no repeated roots a lot. And irreducible, we're going to say can't factorize. Can't factor it. And point out that these are different because, well, they're different, right? Factorizing it might not be into roots, and repeated roots might not have anything to do with this. Those roots might be complex, so you might not be able to find them. So example, x squared plus 1 squared has got repeated roots. It's got repeated roots. Has got repeated roots, sorry. One more time, it's got repeated roots, but it's not irreducible. And I can do examples the other way around as well. Okay. Repeated roots might be complex numbers. Oh no, hiding somewhere else. We've got the idea of quotienting by a polynomial, and this proof that it gives a field. So this is by kind of quotient theory, ring theory stuff, to show that everything's got. So over here you've got to do some like a ring quotient stuff in order to demonstrate that that forms like a ring at all, and then a field because of the irreducible nature, meaning that, oh gosh, you can shortcut here because these are polynomial rings. So you can talk about, finding that inverse with Bezout, a little bit of polynomial division. So shortcut, this is ED, Bezout. It doesn't feel like a shortcut because I'm going to have to explain Bezout up here. So maybe this polynomial stuff needs to do some sort of polynomial division stuff and some Bezout stuff. Highest common factor. Yeah, and then you can do this kind of trick. So there's like trick for separability that using the highest common factor, and that's an excuse to talk about Bezout. To talk about how you might do that. So it introduces as well this idea that polynomials form this kind of space that does highest common factor. Okay. Further down, this idea that you could keep going. So this is like could keep going. Keep going. Let's get the roots. So Galois extension we're going to define as a splitting extension for a separable polynomial. I think I've got that right. And then we're going to prove that it only fixes k, which is tricky. So I'm back to thinking we only want that bit. And vice versa, maybe. And now we're going to set up the right. And then, so up at first, maybe size has got to come down here. Size in there. So you got definition, and then you do the kind of size of this thing. Where I think with the 3.15 shortcut, we're just going to think about to make it easier, just think about an irreducible polynomial. Just think about a separable extension. Just think about the extension for x to the n minus 1 or x to the n minus a. Maybe. Simple extension. Try and get away with it, just a simple extension. Other sorts of extension you could do. The root structure might be really interesting. Okay, so maybe you need an example there to demonstrate that the structure could be really tricky. And then you bring in, what if you just did a simple polynomial like this? What would the size be? And the size is like 5 or something. Okay, the size is like 5. So it's cyclic, so maybe we do this up here. Maybe this goes up. Before you've got the to really motivate that we're doing roots here, successive roots, and somewhere we've got to talk about field operations doing all the normal stuff, like the other things you might want to do with the coefficients. I haven't mentioned coefficients at all, feeling like an oversight. Where are the coefficients in this? Yeah, okay, we've got outstanding questions. You can extend. If you start with symmetric functions, that's the thing. You start with those symmetric functions. Okay. Then we do the terminal stuff. Then talk about successive ones. Do the normal subgroup argument at 4.4. About fixing m, which is not too bad. And you got chain of natural subs, of course, sub for S5 for Quintic done. That's the plan for turning this into a session that maybe year 12 students, high school students could understand. It's got quite a lot of teaching at the start, quite a lot of getting familiar with these things, but I don't mind that because it's good to get familiar with these things. It's got quite a lot of stuff about polynomials, but I don't mind that because you learn some stuff about polynomial division, which is probably handy. It's got the big idea about quotienting up nice and high, and then it defines Galois next and does some stuff with Galois groups to really get familiar with them. I think that's important before then moving into the extensions due to a particular polynomial and counting the size. I only really care about counting the size. No, maybe I need to count the size of a general one. Maybe I do want this general 3.15. Maybe a bit greedy, but maybe somewhere in there I think we're using somewhere in 4.4 and general ideas about size of the extension. But maybe only we do that only for, and we only prove it's a normal subgroup if you did a cyclic thing in that particular case. Maybe get away with it. Maybe we'll see. And then chain of normal subgroups done. Okay, this note is not actually important as it's going because they're still roots, so still satisfy the original polynomial. Okay, I was going to take a 5 minute break at 11:30 here. Maybe not even 5 minutes. I'm just going to go and come back. Yeah. Ain't got no coffee. Back in 5 to try and put some flesh on the bones here. We've got a plan of action about what this route looks like. Let's see what we can do. Okay. So, where do we start with this? I think probably 4.4. Try and pull apart 4.4 and find out if I need that size thing. I'm just doing. Oh no, there's an argument in here somewhere in 3 as well, isn't there? This is all kind of falling apart a little bit. Too much haste. Argument somewhere in 3 that. Yeah, so somewhere down here in the bit that we're definitely doing, it's got the kind of ideas about the size of an automorphism. Who knows if that was a separate polynomial or n-to-the-x or not. So I think I do want this kind of size to relate to the degree, also because it's called. So I'm going to look at it one more time. Going back, forwards, backwards, always forwards and backwards. We've got about an hour this morning before lunch. I think that's probably enough to get to grips with this and then decide what we're doing with the afternoon. There are m over k such maps. The degree of the extension, that's the polynomial. Okay, looking at the product of the minimal polynomials. Is it the degree of the polynomial? Maybe, maybe not. Might be bigger. Okay. Extension of the map. K into J to a ring map M into J, where you put in all the roots as well. To decide where to send the roots. The roots have got to go to J is splitting, so you've got to send the root to something that pays a particular minimal polynomial for that root. So degree, why is that the degree? We're inducting on each of these things the according to 3.10, this relationship between the degree of the polynomial and the extension, we're just putting in alpha 1. So it's 3.10. 3.10 was about counting for a simple extension. Yep. So counting the roots of p. So if you go to the splitting extension, you get that many degree of p roots. So that's how many places you can send in the splitting extension. So apply to splitting extension. If you're mapping into the splitting extension where there are take p many roots, minimal polynomials are irreducible. Okay. Roots of p of x in L. Might be some or none. Okay. So apply 3.4 as well in here. What was 3.4? Be a field extension p has multiple roots. Oh, something has multiple roots. To say it just doesn't. I've decided to ignore this. Proof clear square. Good. Okay. So I do want this notion of size in general, but it's not too bad. I've now convinced myself I can do it, I think. So maybe we do all of this. Just for automorphisms though. Just for automorphisms. Doesn't make much difference. Identify the minimal polynomials for your roots, and then, because reasons, your Gower group has to send. No, it can't permute the roots, really. You can just cycle the roots. Show me root alpha 1. Minimal polynomial, you're going to send it to one of those things. Now show me alpha 2. Next root. This might have repeats. Yeah, you can permute the roots. You can permute the roots. Show me alpha 2. That might be 3. As well, right? Where's the rules to say it has to go to a different one? Oh, there. What's you done alpha 1? No, you can't be 3 twice. So I'm thinking about S5, right? The Quintic, where I've got 5 roots, and maybe that's not an algebraic field extension for the roots of a k, like that. We've got 5 roots, and the minimal polynomial for each one is the Quintic. So then the product of the degrees is 25, which is sort of not enough. Five to the 5. No. How does degree work? The minimal polynomial for each root is a Quintic, and you've got 5 roots. Not flown together. Quintic. So I'm trying to work out the degree here for cases like S5, where for the quintic that I'm looking for. I'm trying to understand these minimal polynomial terms. I suppose it's not a simple extension, is it? To go to these roots? No, surely not. To really get the quintic in there once. Extension in which the minimal polynomial splits. Minimal polynomials of the alpha I. There's not 5 such maps, there's 120 such maps because it's S5. For each one you can choose where to send it. You have to send them to different ones. The minimal polynomials are just the quintic each time. There's a counting argument here that I want to get to the bottom of. It's about counting the number of things here. If all the MIAI are separable, yeah. No repeated roots. There's choice of where to send it. But over here, the extensions work as extensions alpha 2 over alpha 1. Maybe that, yeah, that is what this means, isn't it? Those minimal polynomials don't have coefficient in k, right? So we're extending it each time by putting in alpha 2. Maybe I need to understand again what this means. So, if in doubt, go back to some definitions. Simple extensions were way back over here, like this. Generated by the roots is something people say, right, about splitting fields. Splitting field is generated by the roots. K of S generated by the roots. That's what we have. Or maybe not. Splitting extension, yeah, here it is. M is generated over the roots of P. They're all isomorphic, and J is a further, no, it's a different one, or maybe the same one. The images of all the maps of K coincide. No, from the images and the maps from L into J coincide. The images coincide. Yeah, right, okay. That's sort of equivalent to telling me that you can't send things to the same place as each other, but oh my goodness, what's all this? Oh, preserves the polynomial. So the coefficients lie in K. Yeah, set of roots in J does not depend on phi. Is it like thinking about the permutation of the roots? No, it's just thinking about the sigma for those symmetric functions. Symmetric functions are functions with integer coefficients for the polynomials, so they commute nicely with phi. There's something going on. Something going on. Those be the roots with multiplicities. Let's ignore multiplicities for now. Okay, and then up here, set of roots of p of x in J. Okay, so set of roots of p of x. P of x is irreducible in this statement now? No. Set of roots. Oh, this is the thing about generating the thing, the images are the same as generated by them. In fact, it does better than that. It looks at irreducible components and generates. Ooh, because those are. Look at the subfield. Why? Okay, so why? Count the maps. Count the maps. There's a quintic. There's a quintic. And look at the splitting field generated by the roots of that quintic, which I would think are alpha 1 to alpha 5. And the minimal polynomial for those roots. Is that not the quintic? In K? Are these minimal polynomials? Yeah, they've got to be minimal polynomials in K, right? So these roots actually in K. In K, the original quintic's irreducible, so the minimal polynomial is the quintic. So I really do think I've got 5 quintics multiplied together. Oh, is this the thing like the splitting field is not just K with the roots doing successive simple extensions? Maybe. 5 quintics would only give me degree 25 of the polynomials, right? I think I want degree 120. Splitting field means you get all the roots generated by the roots. But that's not, maybe that's not a series of simple extensions where you throw in a root. If you throw in a root, you definitely got the root now. This is over here the product of the degrees of the polynomials, 5 to the power of 5. Product of the degrees, not the sum of the degrees, not the degree of the overall thing. This is the product of the degrees. Oh no, that's the product of the degrees. Products are quite similar, but not the same degrees of the. These are not quite the degrees of the polynomials in P. So this is not quite the same thing as talking about the degree of P, because these ones in the Tower law really are building it with coefficients in A1, A2. So that's what it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So for irreducible quintic, for the quintic, for our quintic, and these things go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eventually, we'll see. That's kind of the biggest that they could go, that these polynomials, where inside this proof, we're looking at polynomials generated by the previous one, so that I'm kind of looking through the extension to say, okay, and we need the Tower law here before we can go any further. Okay. So these degrees in here are not the degrees that you see in the polynomial that you originally split, because by the time you start generating those things, okay. So overall, the degree of M over K is not the degree of the product of these polynomials. So this is just as we're going to split this polynomial. Then separately, we're going to think about splitting each one over the previous extension to do that product. That's how the Tower law works. So overall, M over dot M over K all the way, and that gives me the size of M over K for that final thing that you've made by extending. That final thing really is the splitting field if those were all the roots. So it's generated by the roots, and it can take all the roots. Okay. This is very subtle. Very subtle. We don't really know what either of those things are. Right? Degree of M over K. We don't know what that is when we look at our original polynomial. We don't know the size of the Galois group as soon as we look at the polynomial. Whoa. Could be complicated. You can't just read off the degree of the polynomial. Because on the way down, you might get further splits. Right, in particular, on the way down, these things might have turned out to be just trivial extensions if we'd already generated the roots. Right, okay. Degree 1, which wouldn't contribute to that product very much. Okay. So tower law before 3.15. Where are we? Tower law before 3.15. These things have got to go in here at the earliest. So it's basis. Okay. We're in good shape, I think. We've then got that stuff down here, so this is going to go here for the size of the automorphisms. And it needs the tower law because we're considering for the splitting needs, so you need tower law to get to size of splitting field, which involves many roots, so it involves kind of iterative extensions. So which is then successive Galois extensions. Okay. It's a little bit muddy in the transition there. We got this idea of working backwards. It's going to be like log. You threw in roots of unity first for any nth roots you wanted to take. Put that in your field. It's quite hard without loss of generality. It'll turn out that this is the same. A big jump. Look at the last step in iterate, backtrack. Normal subgroup. This requires the general size of a algebraic extension. Yeah, these things are always algebraic for the splitting goes because the Galois. Stop saying algebraic. Stop trying to make algebraic happen. You can't get away with n equals p prime there, maybe? Normal subgroup, quotient cyclic. Maybe, yes, so maybe this polynomial does exponentially m1 say does go down here. Because I don't really want to talk about the quotient until we've shown it's a normal subgroup. Yeah, because the quotient is, so at that stage we know about quotient. We know the idea of the quotient group in here being something like the Galois group of L over M intermediate field. And that's important because then we can start identifying that as identity or quotient. And then talk about the string of the chain of normal subgroups with cyclic quotients. It's called a solvable group, by the way, but S5 is not that. And we know that this one's got group S5. Okay. Does the proof of 315 actually get any easier at all if you have automorphisms? Not really. Send the first root somewhere. It permutes the roots of each minimal polynomial. That's the kind of orbit thing. So I want to look at the orbit next, because in 3.18 or somewhere down here, there's some stuff about orbits. Yeah, okay, in here, which we later see is, well, maybe we don't see in the minimal path, but yeah, this is a generation of some sort of minimal polynomial. Automorphism fixes K. symmetric function, mutes the orbit elements. Coefficient. Oh, this thing is in the fix of L, which is K. So Q of X identified in polynomial of K. Okay, which we can definitely skip the minimal. We're looking for a kind of minimal path, we're kind of the fastest way through. Splits in L has no multiple roots. Okay, that's not too bad, really. Got to talk about orbits. Joined up bits corresponding to the action of the Galois group. Galois group has orbits corresponding to minimal polynomials. Here we're kind of finding the minimal polynomial. So down here, these splits. Look at the different roots in the orbit. It's another thing about banning things on the way through. Okay. I think we can tidy this up a little bit by just writing G quite a lot for the automorphisms. dB, excuse me, let D be the number. You're going to have to talk about orbits. To do this step, you've got to talk about orbits. I'm going to explain orbits. Can you do this as like product of all the roots such that exists a gamma with gamma of alpha equals beta? Beta such that all beta in the images, all the images, but not actually over all the images, over all the betas, so you don't get repeats. Once the Galois group is 72. Now it's suspicious because I think they have the same polynomial. It turns out that yeah, they do. Okay. Taking alpha as generators. P be the minimal polynomials for those as algebraic. That's normal and separable. Anyway, okay. And P is separable. Splitting field for P. Okay. So it kind of all loops round. So that's that 3-to-1 thing that the hardest one to understand is this last bit of this triple equivalence, and because the proof is very technical and tautological and stuff. The proof's not tautological, it just uses a tautology or attributes something to being tautologically true. Tower law counting. Okay. The only things that are fixed to L. So the only things that are fixed to K. I'll assume this is normal and separable. It's not very much. It's also splittable field of a separable polynomial. Because Galois. So we're doing some counting. We can apply that over here because that's the. What does it mean to apply the remark after 3.6? Back up several polynomial over a larger space. Gosh, separable no repeated roots kind of carries over to the larger space. Take the same polynomial more or less. So very similar. Take this, take that. It's all really. It's all the same. I kind of want the proof to go more like, suppose it fixed something else. Suppose there's something else that's in the invariant set. Then I suppose you could argue a dimension after that. Huh. Don't know about that, don't know about that. We generate. What would it generate? So if that thing had non-trivial stuff in it, it would have a non-trivial dimension. That's kind of the argument here. Non-trivial dimension. But then also, yeah, okay. So there's a proof that it has. If I wanted to structure it as a contradiction, I would end up proving that this thing had non-trivial non-trivial dimension. So working backwards, this thing L over the automorphisms wouldn't have the same dimension, that it would have at most half as much dimension as L over K. So we have kind of a deficient kind of dimension. But then you hit the tautology working backwards. But that really does fix a lot of stuff. No, that has a really large size. Surprisingly large size. This automorphism group is surprisingly large. And the subgroup is surprisingly large. And then your counting falls out. This is so hard to do. Why is this so difficult? Why is this like this? 3.5 separate polynomials moving there. Okay, so that's just, that bit is just trying to convince me, I think, before the brackets, that bit is just trying to, I know there's a lot of brackets, this bit is just trying to convince me that you can do a kind of Galois thing. It's the splitting field of a separate polynomial so that we can do this kind of counting at all in here. And then thinking about the fixes, so say that's got this, that turns out to have the same dimension that the overall Galois group has, which doesn't leave any space for fixing other stuff. Okay, so where did that come from? So that is this. If this has got large dimension, then there's not space for automorphisms that fix it. The automorphisms that fix it are exactly the automorphisms in the first place. Oh, it's so confusing. It's so round and round and round. Subscript, superscript, subscript, superscript. Oh my goodness. Okay, where are we going to go? Let's read this at the bottom because it looks important. So if you've got an algebraic field extension, L generated by these things, minimal polynomial is separable, is an extension, so it's the splitting field. Extension is separable. So L over K is separable. Okay, that doesn't sound. Extension is separable. L over K algebraic field extension. L generated by these things. Minimal polynomial of each alpha is separable. Which they usually are for me. You've got your splitting bit, you've got your Galois extension or something. The extension is separable. Oh, getting tired. Sometimes get a little tired. Drink some water. Look at the coffee. 313 says that splitting fields exist. So I could go up to a splitting field. You could go up to M over L such that M of K is a splitting field of a separate polynomial because it just exists. Just go for it. Find me the minimal polynomials of those things and go and split them all. Go up to M. What does 315 have to do with that? 315 is about the maps. I'm counting them, right? So then this one here says 318. The extension is separable. We've just shown that if it's the splitting extension for a separable polynomial, then it's a separable extension. It's part of this. This is using the idea 2 to 3, which is the kind of rogue one that I haven't looked at that much. Using 2 imply 2 implies 3. So we got this kind of bit up here about separable fields being inside. Okay, maybe that's not important. Let's hope. Let's not put it on the minimal path. Okay, getting kind of happy about this. Just saw an extra bracket I'm going to remove. Okay, quickly back in. in that power. There we go. A bit of magic marker. Not sponsored. Down there? No, correct number of brackets down there. Okay. Also have brackets for parenthetical comments. It's a lot of brackets is what I'm saying. Okay, I think I want to go to the Quintic extensions one more time and get that algebra clearer in my head. So we've got that going on. And then I want to do that. Yeah. Okay, there's many things that I want to get inside my head. So this algebra is to convince me that function doesn't depend which one you picked, because you could just go like this. They're so much for mu, and the gamma map respects mu, so move it in, and that's the same. And it's a group homomorphism because you could lay this out in a different manner, right? You want to show that this thing is equal to the product. You want to show that thing is equal to that times that. Kind of extra factor of rho downstairs. But what you've actually got is that this thing is in K because that's a root of unity, maybe? Using the fact that x to the n minus 1 splits and the fact that that is a root of unity. Oh, let's map it into, yeah, that's in K because it's a root of unity. That was the point of your map, right? Yep, up here we checked it went to a root of unity. So it's fixed, but that means that also you could apply gamma to this fraction. And downstairs, oh no, this is what you want. That's just what you want. Divide by rho. Snazzy, okay. So it's some sort of like respective multiplication and respect of the gamma element roots of unity. Was it enough? Okay. Clearly injective, can't send everything. So there's not that many group homomorphisms for a cyclic group anyway, if those are the ones I'm interested in. For a prime cyclic group of prime order, you can send everything to 1 or not. If you send everything to 1, it's not going to... Any element of the kernel of phi. The kernel of phi would send everything to the identity, would fix all the roots of x to the n minus a. What does that mean? Kernel of phi. Fix all the roots. Oh, let's send things to 1. And that any element of the phi corresponds to an element of gamma that fixes gamma. No, yeah, phi, yeah. Kernel of phi is made of gamma maps. The map is slightly awkward, right? Because you've got to start with a gamma and show me phi of gamma is this. So this is always the identity, the gamma rho for all, oh gosh, the kernel of phi would be those things that get mapped onto the identity, those gammas that get sent to the identity. Are you sending any more gammas? How many gammas you get sent to the identity? Not many of them, I hope. Galois group maps. Maps from your Galois group. So you started over there. And okay, right, well, you can send your Galois group, Galois maps too. And if it goes into the identity, then, independent of rho, because these things are equal, independent of rho. So you look at the action on rho, you look at the effect on rho of your gamma thing, comparing it to rho where it started. How much rotation has it done? How much rotation? That's what phi does. It looks at gamma and says, how much rotation are you doing? Anything that where it comes back and it says phi, all the gammas, these particular phi's all got sent to the identity of the group. Those ones are the ones where, I looked at how much stirring there was, and no stirring for all of the rows actually, because transitive over, if you're not stirring one of them, and you respect the root of unity, I can read round. I can rotate round and have a look at the next one. So what this does, rotate round and look at the next one. And that's doing the same sort of thing. It's also being kept fixed. This says the mechanics of this. Your gamma has to do, relative to rho, the same thing to each of them if you're respecting the roots of unity. You can only rotate. Yeah, okay. Okay, not very much you can do. Good. Starting to feel like I'm killing time, which is good. Here's a case where I'd like more brackets. I'm going to redo, I think. I don't know what I did. Right, okay. So we can do this relative to the roots of unity. And now to 4.4. No, where next? Are we now happy? Oh, it's about to be lunchtime, so we're happy, but I think we've got a plan. Let's do that size with the dimensions of not the polynomials you originally have, but the polynomials that get reduced along the way of doing the splitting field. The tower law as well. I only care about automorphisms. I'm starting to get it back into the same order that the lecture notes are in, right? Because I'm considering moving this. Instead of down, moving it up quite a bit. We do need the tower law. Which is why the tower law comes up so high. Yeah, okay. The dimension stuff is really, should really just go up, and then then I'm free to put this anywhere. Sequencing, that's the name of the game. Where do the things go? Okay. Quotient group. So I'd like to go back into 4.4, I think, and understand that quotient group link again. There's a description of an isomorphism that I'm going to get slightly more comfortable with. It's got all mods in and so many brackets that you can't really, but it's just hard to get into what it's doing. So we're skipping I and II because it's just the tower law. Just trying to understand 3. So proof down here. This is where what we want to do. 3. M is a subfield of L containing K. And we just want to understand this direction of part 3 to say if that's an intermediate field with Galois extensions everywhere, then the group is normal. And then if that's the case, here's the isomorphism. So I want to understand the notation in that isomorphism, I think. I kind of get that you can, you fix M, you fix all of the stuff there. The images coincide. Look at the restriction. So this group homomorphism says look at the restriction. Images coincide. So it places gamma ascending things. It was just permuting the roots corresponding to different minimal polynomials. So does your intermediate field contain roots corresponding to that minimal polynomial? If it's Galois, it's got to be splitting something. If it's Galois, it's got to be the splitting field for something. Show me what? It's probably a factor, wasn't it? And because it's a factor, that means it's made of the same sort of minimal polynomials, so it contains those roots. You can only send them to them other ones corresponding to the same minimal polynomials. Okay, getting there. Not certain that I'm homing in on a true understanding of Galois theory, but I'm homing in on kind of consistent understanding for myself at least. Right, okay. So there's the homomorphism, and then I want to understand this kernel by definition apparently, which needs a little bit more language for me. So So looking at the gamma maps, and I've put it here because it actually fixes M, which is what I understand. Kernel of this homomorphism. So this would be the restriction is the identity. Oh, that really is just okay. So if the restriction is the identity, it's leaving M actually fixed. They have the word actually in my notes. Good. So that's gal L over M. So the smaller Galois group. No, the top one. The most recent one you did, L over M, is normal inside this whole thing by the isomorphism theorem for groups. And then the quotient, let's go. So this description here is this phi M is determined by the fact that which is the restriction map. Is this IM the same as phi M? Let's read a little bit more. I think over here, phi M is subjective. IM is determined. I have phi M in the first isomorphism theorem. Yeah, I guess these are mods, right? Mod GM. So up to elements, mod this subgroup. Mod the subgroup. You've got the quotient there for the extension of M over K. How are we going to explain that? Actually, the image is actually this. An isomorphism. Not just a group homomorphism, that's an isomorphism. Isomorphic with the ones. Those things which move M while keeping K fixed. It's restriction maps. Oh, and the restriction maps are all, what's the inverse of this isomorphism, I guess? What's the inverse of this isomorphism? It would be the Galois group. So I need to get back up to... No, I need to get back to a quotient if I'm doing the inverse map. I'm trying to understand why that quotient is exactly Galois MK. Down here it's homomorphism. Up here it's isomorphism. I think it is just isomorphic with the image, right? There's the image everything. Why is it not stated to be an isomorphism down here? Oh, this is dated up here, isn't it? How the isomorphism works. Gamma mod GM has kernel GM image. I don't know. So for a particular Galois, particular map in M over K, you've got some way of shuffling around M over K. And I'm interested in a motion of L over K modulo the motion of M. If I make something that does that for any given M over K motion, I'll just take the thing that moves that and also moves cosets in the same sort of way. Oh, is that how it was going to work? Yeah, probably. And then that will be a map of L that fixes K, because K is inside both that's fixed. That'll be an automorphism just fine by the kind of, it'll get out and be okay, I think. So thinking about the thing that moves M and trying to imagine cosets of the GM group. So in here we've got these GM cosets, gamma mod GM. To invert this isomorphism. I think it's just fine, but I do want to know that this is not just isomorphic to like the identity of the trivial group or something. So it doesn't matter, the subgroups of the cyclic group that I'm talking about are just also cyclic and trivial. So for the story I can kind of get away with it. But if it's isomorphic, that's worth saying, just for its own bones sake to actually have a concrete thing. Yeah, I think I need to find a motion of everything, right? No, I'm not inverting this. That's the homomorphism. The isomorphism is the quotient map, right? From the quotient to the image, quotient to the everything over there. It's not just true isomorphism theorem, is it? No, that says it's isomorphic to the image of the homomorphism. So why is this homomorphism subjective? Why is this homomorphism subjective? It'll be subjective for some sort of obvious reason, right? It's like I was saying with Herb earlier, that these things are either these are true once you know them, they're true, obvious once you understand them. Way you stir M around. The way you got me moving drives me crazy. Moving M around. Ring ring, is that you on the phone? You think you're clever, but you're never saying nothing at all. Hey hey, the way you spin me around. Is that song entirely about ring theory? Hang on a moment. Yeah, so lyrics for Ring Ring by Mika. I was sitting on a fence, presumably near some sort of field. I thought I would kiss you. I never thought I would have missed you. You never let me fall, put my back against the wall. Every time you call, you get so emotional. I'm freaking out. But then the chorus goes, ring, ring. Ring 3. Is that you on the phone? You think you're clever, but you never say nothing at all. There's tautologies. Hey, hey, the way you spin me around, you make me dizzy when you play me like a kid with a crown. So this is talking about the, probably talking about the motion of these orbits. You spin me around, you make me dizzy when you play me like a kid with a crown. Oh, like the king who bans quotients, right? So you do this quotient, and then you get the orbit of the roots, right? Sure. You've got a dangerous obsession. I needed protection. That was never my intention. Is this a dangerous obsession? Live streaming 40 hours of Galois theory. You still love me now? You hate me? No. Say I drove you crazy. Wait, is Galois theory singing to me? Say I drove you crazy. Well, if I did, you made me. Won't somebody save me from you now? Yeah, okay, I think Mika might be singing about Galois theory. Ring, ring. Is that you on the phone? You think you're clever, but you're never saying nothing at all. Good, and there are more lyrics, but it's repetitive after that. This is also a sort of stream where we analyse pop music from ages ago. Why is the homomorphism subjective? That's the key question. Doesn't quite matter, but I would like to know. It's probably just because the Galois group is quite large, so you can think of something that maps onto any element of Galois MK. I'm sort of suspicious of the way that M is within L means that just take that permutation and permute the cosets of M. Why am I saying cosets of M? M's a field and cosets, does it? Keep everything else fixed. Does that work? Just do that permutation. The permutation of M is a permutation of L. It's not defined on the other bits. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the other bits on my field. It's like a high dimension field, right? So if you have a field high dimensions, just leave the other dimensions alone. Yeah, probably something like that. Probably something like that. That's my best sort of maths. When I say probably something like that. There we go. Okay. So quotient first isomorphism theorem. That's how we're going to show that it's made of quite simple quotients. In general, those quotients could be complicated because we could be talking about the way that A5 lives inside S5 for the roots of the quintic. Okay, I think after lunch it's going to be time to maybe type up some of this so that I don't just have this one crazy page. So after lunch, I think I'm going to try and get some of this into a kind of my own version of short reasoning, so that I've got something to keep. But right now, I think it's lunchtime. So I will see you back in half an hour or so. And this has been a Twitch stream about maths. The quest is not done yet. Let's have a quick look at the map. We're already on the map. We need to go back a little bit to the map. The quest's not done yet. We've got to find the quick route through to the Quintic. Probably avoiding some of these words and avoiding as much of this as possible. Just take the eagle. Get straight there. Why not just eagle? Cool, that is the plan for today. Understanding. The quest is, as always, to be continued.